concessions or for Wi-Fi content management. Now, also avoid exceptions or conditions to your proposal. What do I mean by that? Conditions such as, I don't have this insurance, so therefore I'm not going to get this insurance to perform work at the airport. Or I take exception to the minimal annual guarantee that's required for this particular concept. Those are deal killers. So if you have a concern with regards to anything, with regards to the proposal, may it be you have a question or you have a recommendation, as I pointed out earlier, the time to present that to us is prior to the question deadline. We're open to hear anything you have, but please do not take any material exceptions to any of our requirements. Step 2 is conforming proposals will receive further evaluation. Again, we didn't interview 101 proposals when we had the Terminal A. We shortlisted, and from that short list, we conducted interviews with the top firms. So make sure that you are submitting a conforming proposal and that your companies and your partners are ready for interview if you happen to make that phase of the evaluation process. Now, if you are asked to be interviewed, make sure that you, as well as your subcontracting partners, are ready. And please be flexible with regards to your schedule. Oftentimes, you probably have heard this saying that it's hard to herd cats. Well, a lot of times, you got to think about, we're trying to get your company and your subcontractors, and we're trying to get individuals that work for various departments. Again, these are senior level people, and trying to get your schedule to match with their schedule. So we need maximum flexibility in order to get all of the appropriate parties together to review and be part of your interview session so that you can make a great next impression with regards to your proposal. It's very important also to prepare effective visual aids. I've seen visual aids that seem very outdated, and those don't really make very good impressions. Usually the ones that are dynamic, those that are PowerPoints, uses modern technology, some of the stuff that you've seen today with regards to our trip may not have to be that fancy, if you will, but we need to have an understanding of the look and feel. How would your concept work in an airport environment? And your visual aids need to reflect that kind of concept. We understand that you may have a successful business on a strip mall or some other location, but obviously we're concerned with how your concept is going to look and feel and work at DFW Airport. Oftentimes in an interview session, we have questions that have been developed by our evaluation team. We will submit those questions to you, and it's very important that you promptly respond to them. If you have any follow-up questions or you don't understand a question that you've received, make sure and get back with that contract administrator, either Miriam Seymour or Sanji Killian, and we will try to get clarification for you. But we need to keep the process moving, so it's important that you work to get the answers back to us very promptly. And obviously, after we conducted an interview session, the challenge for the airport is to make recommendations of finalists to be selected for lease award. So proposals that make this phase throughout the evaluation process will be scored on the same criteria that you see today in the RFP. The criteria does not change. It's the same in a written proposal as it is for the interview session. It's the same, not only the same evaluation criteria, but the same weights and scoring. And then step 4, the part that most people will be happy about, hopefully, is that we will make a proposal recommendation to our executive staff as well as to our airport board. Now, our airport board will make the decision, the final decision, as to whether or not your concession or your Wi-Fi content management concept is going to be awarded, and a lease will be awarded to you. So it's a very thorough reviewed process, and we're very excited. We think that we have a very fair and open process that allows a lot of companies to be involved. It's very important that you be very well prepared for each one of these steps to be successful. And if there's no questions, I'm going to introduce Mr. Michael Baldwin, who's Assistant Vice President of Concessions.
Thank you very much, Ron. Good afternoon, everyone.
Mike, I got one question. Can you hear me? Got one question.
Okay.
Is there any way possible, or you're going to show the evaluation criteria? I think a large part of what we talked about showed about, what our concept would look like and feel like and be like. But in the last process, that wasn't the major part of the decision wasn't made on that, a huge portion of it. Would it be to our advantage to know more about how your decision is made other than that? Or does that make sense what I'm saying?
Well, again, the evaluation criteria that we provided in the RFP is the way that we weigh and review the proposals. Okay. They are scored, and they are submitted by the evaluation team based upon their review and their belief as far as how well your proposal met the requirements that were stated in the RFP.
I think you misunderstood my question.
Okay.
My question is, what you just showed us basically dealt with what we look like and feel like.
Right.
And that is a percentage of the basis of how a decision is made if you will be accepted or not. But the information you just gave us is only a small part of the decision-making process. Could you emphasize more about the balance of what's required when a decision is made?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Don, if I may chime in for a minute. That's going to be forthcoming, some more information, if you will, that's going to be forthcoming as others come up and speak to it. It'll be a little more defined, if you will. Okay? Other questions? Okay. Thank you again, Ron. Well, again, good afternoon, and I will get that question thoroughly taken care of for you. Look, this is about an opportunity, right? And I got to tell you, we go until 5 o'clock, so we're about halfway there, and I'm kind of jacked out of my mind about this opportunity. This, what we're sharing today, fires me up. I don't know, but when I said good afternoon, everyone said good afternoon. Okay, can I say that one more time? Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon. That's what I'm talking about. Okay, now, many of you sat down today, and when you sat down, you did not take the opportunity to begin with the end in mind. That person on your right or left may very well be your next business partner. Ever thought about that? We're all business persons, right? So why don't you turn to the person on your right or left and say hello to them and introduce yourself, just in case you haven't done that. You can always tell business people and looking for opportunities, because you just tell them to introduce themselves and they start pulling out cards and talking. You know, that's a good thing. Well, again, welcome this afternoon. Let me talk to the evaluation criteria, if you will. This kind of gives a snapshot of our process. I want to talk to this. You know, you have to forgive me, but I'm just one of those guys. I kind of walk and talk a little bit, so let me find my way. They put me one here that I can't get rid of. First and foremost, okay, we have what we call subject matter experts, if you will, that address various questions as it relates to concept, category, operations, and design. Thank you. That's our department gatekeeper. She keeps us together. That's Kara Richardson. And she holds the glue together for us. At any rate, so from a subject matter expert standpoint, this is a concessions department, if you will. So let's just say that there's a food and beverage manager, there's a retail manager, there's an amenities manager. Those are your subject matter experts. Our design team, our tenant project planning team, they all fall in that category. So we have our selection committee that scores the proposals that come in, okay? And from that standpoint, we, for example, in Terminal A, we had 5 persons that were scoring the proposals. Now, the reason I want to share this with you and the importance of it is because we're going to talk in a minute about how important it is for you to speak your concept, your opportunity to that group of persons, okay? Then we have an advisory committee. So let's just say our advisory committee answers questions with regard to policies, practices, stakeholder concerns, and that means the airlines and passengers, if you will. So we've kind of put together a holistic approach to ensuring that everything is fair, equitable, and very informative, and so that we can be very productive with our process. Speaking of the process, our procurement administrator oversees our entire process. So we just wanted to give you a quick snapshot of what this looks like. So as you go through and as you're submitting, what I'm going to talk about here in the next few minutes will begin to make sense. This is your opportunity to propose your concept. You've seen up to this point videos that talked about what our customers are looking for, and that's what we've built this model on. We're looking to address the customer's needs. Would you not agree? That's what we're in business to do, right? So this is your opportunity to tell your story. How do you tell your story? First things first, okay? I don't care what anybody says. At some point, maybe about 15 years ago, some of you under the sound of my voice did not carry a BlackBerry or an iPhone. Can I see a show of hands that would apply to, okay? Maybe 20 years ago, you didn't carry a smartphone. Show of hands. Let me see today how many of us carry smartphones and the sort. Now, those that didn't raise your hand, what are you carrying? Are you in communication? Okay. The point of it is it has changed. So the point I want to make there is that first things first, you've got to tell your story. Someone told us that we needed to buy these smart devices and not leave home without them, right? And now if you leave it on the desk, you rush back to the office to get it, right? So you need to be mindful. Let's keep that in mind. Let's begin with the end in mind. We're going to talk about that. Telling your story from an operations standpoint. What is your operations? What does it look like? What are the details about your concept, your story? How does it tie to the demographics of DFW Airport, number one, of a particular terminal, number two, okay? Because each terminal, if you will, in and of itself is very unique. Would you not agree? So Terminal A is one, Terminal B, so forth, so on. So as you tell your story, these are the things that you need to keep top of mind. So what we've done is we've had debriefings that we wanted to get greater learnings from previous RFPs to understand how we can create betterment. This is a continuous improvement process for us as well. So what we came up with is establishing an executive summary. Now that executive summary, think about, Ron just talked about we had over 100 proposals come in for Terminal A, of which a third were awarded. That being said, there's a lot of reading that goes on from that selection committee, right? Now, so they're reading through information. The executive summary, if you will, allows you to call out certain aspects of your proposal so that, I mean, sometimes you may want to say something and you've got it here in your deck, but something needs to be called out to attention. So let's go back to the added value that you can speak